Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to foot.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Hello, dissidents. Good morning. Welcome, one and all, to a Thursday morning due edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. My name is Keaton Weiss, here, of course, with Russell Dobular.
Hello.
Live from rainy, gray New York town. It's rainy and gray up here. I don't know what it's like down there. It is that time of year, but it is opening day. Baseball season.
It's pretty rainy and gray.
Baseball season starts today. New York Yankees are down in Houston, Texas, under a roof, so I know they'll be playing at 4 o'clock for all you baseball fans. The birds are chirping, the bees are buzzing, the gloves are snapping. The bats are swinging. That's right. Baseball season starts today. All 30 teams playing, so everybody's got a game to watch if that's what you're into. I might watch a game later. I don't think I watched a single game from front to back last year. Not one. Not one. The Yankees are a real symbol for the United States. They're big and they're rich, but they don't win anymore. They're just this big, bloated, decadent, dying team that is just totally impotent. And now the Yankees start the season without Garrett Cole, so it's looking like another stinker of a season because I don't see how they're going to survive with 2 months without their ace pitcher since they don't have much of a team outside that. So it's looking like a year where the fate of the New York Yankees will mirror that of these United States. That's my analysis for the baseball season. But we have another quick thing that Russell wanted to get to because I showed this to him before the show, and he got such a kick out of it. This is a shout-out to our friend Colin Radix Carter, who had...
Colin wins the internet this week.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kyle, LOL, RFK picked this VP because she has a shit ton of money and he wants to fuck her. And Colin Radix Carter responds, isn't that how you chose your wife? Does not get any better than that. Hats off to our friend Colin.
Well done. Well done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah, that was pretty epic. That was pretty good. For sure. So shout out to our friend Colin. 5:35 over on Rumble to start the show. 6:75 over on YouTube and Twitter. So we know what that means, according to our internal data. Our folks are owed.
Have we checked with Steve Kornacki?
What's that?
The numbers? If we check the numbers?
What are you talking about? We got 689. Here we go. It doesn't parse back here. It used to just tell us YouTube, and like Twitter didn't even count the numbers. So now this gives us the Twitter and the YouTube count. So we just have to go based on that for the first 666 of the stream. But we have a great show for everybody. We just want to start out. We apologize. Russ and I were up late last night trying to figure out how to get the tickets for the live show to be live and not confusing because we are doing 2 shows in the same day. We're doing a matinee at 2 p.m. and then an evening show at 7 p.m. And the way we arranged it, we had to create separate links. 2 o'clock is
for the kids.
Yeah, the 2 o'clock is
Bring
the family
the kids
show.
to that one.
Yeah, exactly. That's the family show. We're going to have Barney the dinosaur there for the 2 o'clock.
We're going to have whipped cream pies.
Yeah, exactly. But we couldn't figure out how to make it one link so that you only had to go to one place to buy it for whichever show you wanted. So we are going to put the tickets live on Sunday for Sunday's show. So on Sunday, we will share the link during the evening stream, but the link to buy tickets to our live show in New York City on June 9th will go out with the Substack email Sunday morning. So make sure you are subscribed to our Substack list if you want first dibs at those tickets. That's dudissidents.substack.com. That is free. That's just a newsletter. You don't have to sign up for the paid version to get this. The link to buy tickets to the live shows will go out on Sunday morning, and then we will share the link live on the show that evening, obviously. So that's what's happening on that front. Did we have one more thing that we had to look into and take care of before the show started? I feel like we did, but I can't remember what it is.
Did we?
Yeah, no, I think that was it. I think that was the only thing. What escapes me? I'm supposed to write these things down before we start. I didn't this morning.
So far.
Yes, of course. No, now I know what it is. Member stream tomorrow, 10 a.m. For Patreon members, paid Substack members, and paid Locals members. Special live stream tomorrow. You guys will have call-in access. That is tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. That's the matinee. We do one evening patron stream and one matinee patron stream per month. Tomorrow is the matinee, so wake up early tomorrow. Not as early as today, obviously. It's Friday morning tomorrow. So 10 a.m. tomorrow morning Eastern time. We will be live for our members over on Rumble for a rollicking good time. All right.
So far in the comments, no one has noticed that you're dressed as a customer at the Bada Bing.
Yeah, I was deciding. I couldn't decide whether or not to change. I got up really early. I had to run the kids over to the in-laws so that I could do the show. So I just threw this on over literally an undershirt. That's the white shirt underneath it. And then I got
Amanda, get me a chicken pot pie.
Yeah, right. I got home right at 8:30 when we're supposed to sign on. Yeah. I got home right at 8:30 when we're supposed to sign on. So I'm like, let me sign on and get everything set up, and then I'll change during the countdown. But then, I got to look at myself on the screen here, and I'm like, I think this actually works. I think it actually works, and it's a little chilly, so that's what I'm sticking with. I decided
you look
go
like
with it.
You look like Sonny Corleone on the way to beat up Connie's husband.
Yeah, see, I don't know about that. This is just a nice sort of cool weather windbreaker. Mm-hmm. So let's see. People are saying they enjoyed you on the Jimmy Dore show last night. Russell, yes, Russell got a last-minute gig last night on the Jimmy Dore show, and he'll be hosting starting Monday for a couple weeks. So lots going on here.
Going back to sunny and beautiful Los Angeles. None too soon.
Indeed. Alrighty, folks. So let's get into some material. Obviously, Candace Owens was let go from the Daily Wire last week, and that was the talk of much of the online and even some broadcast media. Ben Shapiro has yet to really open his mouth about it. And so he appeared on the Piers Morgan show, and Piers Morgan, shockingly, brought this up. And Ben Shapiro seemed like he didn't really want to talk about it. I can't imagine he didn't anticipate this coming up, since that had to be one of the many reasons why he was booked there. But here is Ben Shapiro tight-lipped on the question of why Candace Owens was canceled by the Free Speech Daily Wire.
The consequences of this war has been a lot of very high passions on both sides, a lot of angry disagreements. You and your company have been at the centre of a very high-profile one at the moment with Candace Owens, who's now left Daily Wire. Was she fired, or did she leave of her own volition?
I'm not going to speak to this topic, Piers.
At all?
At all.
You can't give me any insight into why she departed?
No hints, no nothing. I'm not going to speak to this.
Can I ask why?
A likable guy, this guy.
I mean, you can ask.
No, I'm not. You can ask why you don't want to say anything.
Again, you can ask.
I mean, not only were you called out for a certain hypocrisy from, canning her in the first place for having a difference of opinion on this war, but another grievance of the anti-cancel culture people and the anti-censorship people is that there's often no responsibility taken on the part of the people who censor. They are completely unaccountable to the users, unaccountable to those who they censor. They are very often tight-lipped about why and what exactly you said that was wrong, right? There's a certain vagueness about this. And so this kind of feeds into that as well. As he mentions later in this, which we'll play, the Daily Wire is a publisher, not a platform. That's fair enough. Mm-hmm. You're under no obligation to keep someone on if they violate your editorial standards to that degree. But this is one of many issues. Certainly you hired Candace Owens for her talent and her agreement with you in most cases. So the idea that you wouldn't allow for any dissent on this issue, you didn't expect for a black Christian woman to push back on Israel, like just the lack of anticipation there is kind of shocking.
There's good reason to believe that because, they're friendly with the kinds of Christians who think the Jews need to be there as Jesus bait for the second coming. So there's reason to believe a black Christian woman might also be a rabid Zionist, but they were disappointed in this case. They're not a network. I don't know if there's a way of tracking performance that way. I would anticipate Daily Wire is seeing a mass cancellation in memberships in the wake of this, because there are, I believe, a lot of good faith conservatives who actually believe in the principle of freedom of speech and actually are truly anti-canceling people. So I think the smarter Daily Wire subscribers will have been canceling their memberships in protest. I don't know if you'll ever be able to find that out, though. I don't know if there's a means outside of them telling you of tracking that.
Well, yeah.
Because are they publicly traded?
I don't
If they're
believe so.
publicly traded, they would have to reveal those numbers.
I don't believe so. But that is all the more reason to just let her speak. Let her say her point of view. Like,
Sure,
why do you
of
need
course.
ideological lockstep? Like,
Of
she's
course.
not. It's not like you're regularly co-hosting a show with her, where this is a constant bone of contention, and every panel ends up a fight. You know, then you could say, okay, this is interfering with the actual programming. It's not. She's got her show. You got yours. She could say what she wants. You could say what you want.
And what better
why
way
can't you
to
just leave it at that?
demonstrate that you're better than the libs?
Right. Exactly. But here he goes.
I'm only curious because I know what a staunch defender of free speech you are, and it would surprise me if it had been someone's opinions that would make you want to part company with them. However,
well, he's a staunch defender of Israel, not a staunch defender of free speech.
I mean, suffice it to say, the only thing I will say is what I've said all along with regard to Candace or with regard to any of our other hosts. I am not in hiring and firing position with the Daily Wire. I'm a co-founder of the Daily Wire. I'm a co-owner of the Daily Wire. I'm not actually in management. Jeremy Boring and Caleb Robinson are in management positions with regard to Candace or anyone else. And as far as the free speech situation, what I will say is that no company has the obligation to literally pay anyone. The Daily Wire is a publisher. It is not a platform. I've never called for Candace or anyone else, for that matter, to be banned from YouTube, to be banned from X, to be banned from any platform. That's a different story, obviously, when it comes to any publisher. Any publisher gets to make decisions about what it wishes to purvey and not.
I mean, I'm just not going to labour this, but one more point I would make is it's been reported extensively that the reason for her departure was because her comments had been perceived by people at the Daily Wire as anti-Semitic.
Again, I'm not going to comment on this, Piers.
See, so first he kind of says, I'm not involved in firing and hiring, as if Ben Shapiro has no say in who's on the air at the Daily Wire and who's not.
Yeah,
the second point,
the founder of the company, has no influence.
Yeah, no influence. So it's not on me. That was all Jeremy's call. The fact that they are a publisher and not a platform, like I said, true, fair enough. But that last question there, well, was it her stance on the war or was it anti-Semitism? This is why I said, this cuts a lot deeper and they are on very thin ice. We played a video of the guy saying, I was born Jewish. I converted to Christianity. Most Christians have embraced me except the Christ is King people. Like, there's clearly a deeper rift there that he's too much of a coward to get into.
Christ is king. I start having race memory of being dragged into the town square by the villagers with the pitchforks, the tar, the whole thing. Just don't say Christ the king. Say Christ.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't say Christ.
You can't say Christ. That's not enough. Praise
I say
Jesus
it all the
Christ.
time. Jesus Christ, this soup is cold.
Yeah, right. You got to say Christ the. I don't say Christ the King. It's cold. It's hot in here.
That's it.
Christ the King. It's drafty at this table. Right.
Little adjustment. Make your Jesus Spade friends happy.
Yeah. I've never seen Ben Shapiro say this, but I watched Greenwald do a segment on this, and apparently Shapiro has said that the reason he lives in America and not Israel is because he feels like he could do more for Israel living here than there. So this is a very committed Zionist, and that is so obviously what the rift was. Now, they want to blame it on anti-Semitism. Well, that's Zionism 101. Blame all critics of Israel blame all criticism of Israel, rather, on anti-Semitism. But, the fact that he just doesn't want to talk about this, doesn't want to take ownership of this after this whole thing blew up. This is months coming. I mean, he's already on the record saying her behavior was disgraceful.
Yep.
So why so evasive? Like, did you not expect to be asked about this? Take some responsibility this way, because like I said earlier, the thing that's one of the worst things about modern censorship in the internet era is the vagueness of it, the arbitrariness of it, if you will. I don't know if that's a word, but I don't know what the noun would be for that. So
arbitrary nature, I think.
The arbitrary nature of it. Thank you. Not the arbitrariness, the arbitrary nature of it. That's one of the things that makes it so dangerous, because you don't know where that line is. So why don't you just say her stance on this war conflicted with the editorial bent of our publication, and so we felt we had to part ways. Everybody knows that's what happened. So why do you have to dodge it? I mean, you're the face of the company. If your underlings can opine on it, why can't you?
Piers, I believe it was Spike Lee who made a film called Jungle Fever, and we were having it. And it was causing a lot of problems around the office.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, yes, you're a publisher. Sure, you're within your rights. Your brand is in part and almost principally built around a rejection of the libs and their cancel culture. Right? It's the whole idea. You started a children's thing. You snatched up Gina Carano when Disney fired her and built a movie around her. Your whole brand is a repudiation of canceling people, of taking away people's right to speak. Now, what you've revealed here is you're actually not against cancel culture. You just want your own version of cancel culture, which this is why people like myself, like Matt Taibbi, people who grew up in a world where the Republicans were the censors, have said we're living in upside down land. Right? Because this is really the Daily Wire revealing themselves to be the same conservatives we always had. You're not against cancellation. You're against the cancellation of people you agree with. You're perfectly happy, as the right wing always has been, to cancel people whose voices you don't approve of. So you're not repudiating anything. It's a sectarian battle. It's not a battle in principle as you've been presenting it as.
Exactly. We are without Jake today, but we do have our Rumble app open, and so we can take Rumble rants. Everybody all right over there on Rumble? I know some people on YouTube were asking what was going on over there, but we seem to be getting chats coming in the queue, so that's good. Hopefully all's good over in Rumble world. James Vanderzanden, thanks for the $4.99. Keaton's takedown of Marianne Williamson in character as Norm Finkelstein was amazing. Any chance for a reaction video from Menachem?
Well, we were talking about doing a Marquis Dudabular bit, which I only did once quite a while ago when we had a much smaller audience. We'll see if I have time before Sunday.
Well, we might have to invite Menachem to our live show. We might have to invite him as a guest speaker.
That's not a bad idea.
Maybe he can open.
I'll see what his schedule is like.
Yeah, he might be available to, open, do a 5-minute spot,
Sure.
Yeah,
I think he'd probably be down for that.
He probably
especially if you let him spin some records.
Yeah, and maybe move some shirts. If
you let him move some schmatas.
Yeah, exactly. We might have to do that.
He's always keen to seize an opportunity to move schmatas.
That's right. Okay, folks, we're going to move on. This is a quick segment. I was devastated to learn that this video of Pete Buttigieg is not current. I was truly devastated to learn. And I was very surprised to learn as well, because you would think a video this ridiculous would have gone viral at the time he said it. And it really didn't, because a lot of people think it's current. Apparently, this is a few years old. This is Mayor Pete after being hired to head the Department of Transportation. And obviously his record is being scrutinized once again now in the wake of the Baltimore Bridge collapse. He was under some scrutiny for what's going on at Boeing. Is there any government oversight of, tires falling out of the sky, doors peeling off of the planes, things like that? So whenever an East Palestine thing happens, or a shakeup at Boeing happens, or a bridge collapse happens, people wonder, hey, what are things like over at the Department of Transportation? Well, this is just a video that, it's not current, but it's too good not to show you. I mean, it's just too great to pass up the opportunity to share this with you guys.
When we found out it wasn't current, we were like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, we're doing it anyway. We'll make it work. We'll make it work. We'll figure out a way to massage it in, because it's just too good not to show. And like I said, I'm really surprised that this didn't go viral. I'm surprised this isn't something that's just like memorable, like for the time capsule.
Right. It should have been one of those iconic things, like Kamala laughing about locking up parents for
exactly.
truancy.
This should have been one of these like forever clips of video. And who knows, maybe now that we're playing it, it will be. Here is Pete Buttigieg talking about how overpasses can be racist. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Let's take a listen here.
Underpass was constructed such that a bus carrying mostly black and Puerto Rican kids to a beach, or that would have been, in New York was designed too low for it to pass by, that obviously reflects racism that went into those design choices. I don't think we have anything to lose by confronting that simple reality, and I think we have everything to gain by acknowledging it and then dealing with it, which is why the Reconnecting Communities, that $1 billion, is something we want to get to work right away.
Let me just play that one more time. If an underpass or an overpass is built too low that a bus carrying black kids, or what did he say, Puerto Rican kids?
And Puerto Rican kids, yeah.
Can't fit under it, that demonstrates
in New
racism.
York, he's specifically saying New York. So okay, I guess he's talking about Robert Moses, and that might be why he says Puerto Rican, because Puerto Rican in New York in the 70s used to be like a thing, like they were the main Latin population in New York by far. It was Puerto Ricans. It was kind of a cliche, hence Mick Jagger. I got some Puerto Rican girls just dying to meet you, right? That's what it was back then. So I guess he's talking about Robert Moses. And yes, Robert Moses did do things that were definitely racist in the way he designed the infrastructure, where he would cut off communities from the rest of the community. But making the overpasses lower to specifically target a community, how would that even work? The trucks wouldn't be able to go through. The buses carrying white people wouldn't be able to go through. Nobody would be able to go through. You could not specifically target black and Puerto Rican people with an overpass.
Yeah, let's play this one more time.
If an underpass was constructed such that a bus carrying mostly black and Puerto Rican kids to a beach, or that would have been, in New York was designed too low for it to pass by, that obviously reflects racism that went into those design choices. I don't think we have...
Yeah, I lived next to the BQE for a few years, literally right next to it. And that was a Robert Moses operation. And the BQE, which, for those of you who don't know, is an above-ground highway overpass that goes basically from Brooklyn to Queens to the Triborough Bridge. Basically, that's why they call it BQE, Brooklyn Queens Expressway. And that did a lot of harm to the local neighborhoods in those two boroughs because it took a lot of business away. Because now, rather than driving through it, people who were working and had to get from point A to point B would just drive above it, and the restaurants, the shops, everything you would lose a lot of action down below. So yes, there was a cost to that, absolutely. But the problem with the BQE is not how high it is off the ground. I lived right next to it for a few years. There's plenty of room under that.
Of course,
BQE.
Of course there is. There's what I'm saying. Like,
through.
What the fuck are you
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
about?
The height of the
Like, this is what...
Are there overpasses that buses can't fit under in New York City? Because a lot of that infrastructure is there from that era. A lot of it hasn't been rebuilt. You're talking about 50, 60 years ago. You're not talking about forever ago. It's still there. Even the High Line, which is an old piece, an old overpass, trucks drive under that all the time.
I mean, they're the only bridges I'm aware of that cause problems in all of New York City are the ones in Central Park, which were built in the 19th century.
Right.
And presumably for the upper classes of Fifth Avenue, they were not trying to block them who live right off the park from going under the underpasses. So what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is just such a caricature of, when in doubt, deflect to race. And the problem with that is, as I just illustrated, there is a legitimate case to be made about the design choices that Robert Moses made, which I assume in his half-digested way he was referring to. He half remembered some shit he heard about Robert Moses and came up with some nonsense about fucking racist overpasses. But it cheapens legitimate conversations because you're so fucking ridiculous about it, because you don't know what you're talking about. It's obvious you don't know what you're talking about. because you invoked it in such a ridiculous way, and because politicians like Buttigieg so obviously use race as a totem to hide behind, to cover up their lack of meaningful policy chops and political talent and ability. People don't take the whole subject seriously. That we get it sometimes ourselves, man, when we have a lot of credibility, I think, with our audience. But anytime we deviate into something like the Louisiana prison story, a lot of people automatically tune out because they're used to hearing that language from people like this. So they just have a viscerally negative reaction as soon as you want to start talking about race and inequality in America.
Yeah, I think the other element to this, too, is that he so clearly wants to be president, and he so clearly wants to use his tenure as Department of Transportation Secretary as a sort of launching off pad to a presidential bid. Not this time, but he's almost going to certainly run in 4 years. So he tries to be as sort of thematically grandiose and poetic as he can, but it's like playing a game of Mad Libs. Like the context can only allow you so much. So he has to try and weave these broader themes of inequality and racism into transportation, right? How do I make a point about race when I'm talking about overpasses? Not so easy, right? Not so easy without looking ridiculous. And he does, right? It's one thing, like you can be a Secretary of State. It's easy then to make big speeches about foreign policy and America's standing in the world. You can use those speeches in your ad when you run for president. He's stuck with transportation. Like there's only, like you can only make the hairs on people's necks stand up so high when you're talking about buses and airplanes and ocean liners and bridges. But he gave it his best shot.
He's just like Obama, except white with no talent.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure that's what Biden says to him. You know, you remind me a lot of Barack Obama, except that you're a white boy with no talent.
you're like a flock of lemur.
Oops. I just almost unplugged my microphone. How am I coming through? Good?
Yep,
right,
you're good.
Cool. That was almost pretty clumsy. Scott George, Russ saves the door show once again. Booyah. Yeah, we got the call like 45 minutes before showtime. I couldn't join last night because my wife Amanda had a work event that I had to babysit the kids for. But yeah, Russ did a very good job. There was a long one last night, but a good one. I did catch most of it. I'll match all donations up to $200 for this show, says Rich. What do you mean for this show? Oh, you mean for super chats? Is that what you're saying?
For super chats or for the Give Send Go?
For the Give Send Go. Yeah, we do have a Give Send Go, which we're going to plug in a little. But thank you. That is very kind of you, Rich. We appreciate that very, very much. Sparky says, Ben certainly isn't a man of integrity. Whatever happened to integrity? Yeah. Not easy. Well, like I said, I mean, he is really a committed Zionist. I mean, there are Zionists, and then there's Ben Shapiro. Buttigieg, Klobuchar, 28, Slave Queen, says abiding. Yes. Apparently, Klobuchar hates Pete Buttigieg, and it was pretty obvious through those debates.
Yeah, because he attacked her, didn't he?
He attacks her for no reason. That's what he did. He attacked people for no reason. That was what made him such a coward. That's why I can't stand him. Because he's a guy who stands for nothing. If you listen to what he says, he never actually commits to any particular opinion. It's all flowery rhetoric signifying nothing. That's why he's an untalented version of Obama. That's where Russell's getting that from. But he is very hostile.
He literally would imitate Obama's cadences in his speeches.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like watching, sometimes you'll have like a talented celebrity with an untalented sibling, and then, they go and star in a movie, and it really is like a deflated, talentless version of the other one.
Yeah.
That's what's... And you'd see Buttigieg make a speech and really try to nail that Obama thing. And that's why we don't have enough funding at our schools.
Right. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, motherfucker. It's like you tried to sing Motown, man. You're not qualified, bro.
Yeah, no, and he would, like I said, he would just attack people totally unprovoked and unwarranted. And the fact that he never commits to a position makes it hard to attack him. So that's what made it kind of a cowardly thing. Apparently, from what I've heard, because I knew someone who worked fairly high up in the Democratic Party at the time, they told me that when the Monday night massacre happened and the party was trying to consolidate everyone behind Biden, there was a big rally in Texas pre-Super Tuesday, and they wanted Beto and Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg.
Well, that was the the thing speech, right? The Texas rally?
Yeah, maybe that was it. I forget if he said that there. But they wanted everybody there as a show of force behind Biden before Super Tuesday. And apparently, Klobuchar, as a condition of appearing, said she was not willing to appear on stage with Pete Buttigieg.
Really?
Yeah, that was a condition for her appearance. She hated him that much. And there was
listen, I can say from experience, I don't know if you've had the experience, it's hard to find a Pete Buttigieg supporter in the wild, like somebody who in that primary preferred Pete Buttigieg to the options.
Right.
But I did know someone. And that is the dumbest species of lib that you could find. Somebody who thought Pete Buttigieg should be president. That is the dumbest. I literally, I was curious, so I decided not to attack the person, and I asked, like, well, so what is it? Like, why do you support him? And they explained they had read his book, and it was so clear-eyed about government. There was a policy where he had to make a decision about these grabber arms on the garbage truck, and they would save money but occasionally rip off an arm. And so he had to decide whether or not, and he put it so clearly, the whole process of government and the trade-offs. You have to think about it. I shit you not.
That's funny.
This was the person's explanation for why Pete should be president.
Yeah.
Because he made a decision about a garbage truck mauling the workers.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Wow.
How much money per arm would it save us? Yeah. if we were to either do away with these or not. All right, let's go on to segment number 3. This is a story that broke a few days ago. But Russell, go ahead. You're up.
Oh, the Boeing?
Yeah.
All right. So, Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun to step down with his golden parachute. That's more than the poor people on those planes are going to get if they go down.
Yeah.
Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun said Monday he intends to leave the beleaguered company by the end of the year in a major shakeup of the company's leadership. Boeing's chairman and the head of the commercial airplane unit are also leaving. Boeing's chairman, Larry Kellner, will not stand for re-election as a board director. The board has elected former Qualcomm CEO Steve Mollenkopf to succeed him. Well, problem solved. The company also announced that Stan Deal, CEO of Boeing Commercial Airplanes, is retiring. Stephanie Pope, Boeing's chief operating officer since January, is taking his place effective immediately. Just to point out, because I looked at some other sources when I was putting this together. Apparently, she's the odds-on favorite to become the next CEO. Another person coming out of a business C-suite background, not an engineering background, which is a departure from what Boeing used to be. It used to be a company of engineers, run by engineers. And that's why you didn't have shit falling off the fucking planes. Boeing has been buffeted by more than 5 years of problems with its airplanes, including 2 fatal crashes of the 737 MAX in 2018 and 2019 that killed 346 people. And most recently, a door plug that blew out of the side of an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX in January, leaving a gaping hole in the side of the plane. The problems have led to multiple groundings for safety issues and more than $31 billion in cumulative losses. That's what you call penny wise, pound foolish, folks. In a letter to Boeing employees Monday, Calhoun called the Alaska Airlines incident a watershed moment for Boeing. Killing 346 people was not a watershed moment. They had to wait until shit literally started flying off the planes in the air. The eyes of the world are on us, he said in announcing his departure plans. We are going to fix what isn't working, and we are going to get our company back on track towards recovery and stability. The decision to leave was 100% his choice, Calhoun said in an interview on CNBC Monday morning. But Calhoun has become the focus of many who are critical of the way Boeing has been run in recent decades and the string of safety and quality issues. Quote, "He's the very best CEO that Airbus has ever had," said Richard Abulafia, managing director at Aerodynamic Advisory and a leading aerospace analyst, recently referring to the advantages gained by Boeing's main rival during his tenure running Boeing. His departure also comes in the face of widespread criticism of the company by CEOs of many of the world's major airlines Boeing depends upon to buy its planes. CEOs of numerous airlines had asked to speak directly to the Boeing board last week, which Calhoun tried to characterize Monday as a normal process, even if it's rare for customers to speak directly to directors. The airlines are upset both by the quality of the planes they are getting from Boeing and the fact that Boeing won't be able to deliver the planes they were counting on this year as passenger demand continues to surge to record levels. All right, now this next part, I would almost feel bad to read this for anyone who's flying if I were not flying on Saturday. So I'm right there with you. Michael, although I will be on an Airbus by request, which our friend Mr. Dorr kindly accommodated.
Well, yeah, fun fact, they'll actually tell you, and I assume this is nothing new. Like I said, I don't fly often, so I don't really know. But they'll tell you the model of the airplane when, on your ticket, on your booking receipt when you book the flight.
Right. Yeah, no, this is when we were arranging the flight. I asked Jimmy, "Yo, man, just don't put me on a Boeing, man." So they have Airbus.
Now, do they have it where just like if you go to a Broadway play and there's an understudy that fills in, the loudspeaker comes on before, "Attention, folks, substituting for the Airbus this morning will be the 737 Boeing Max. Please enjoy your flight."
Smoke 'em if you got 'em, folks. We're going down.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Michael,
let's go, Brandon. Remember when the pilot said, "Let's go, Brandon"?
No, seriously. The only airline and there might very well be others. The only American-based airline that I have found that has no Boeing planes at all is JetBlue. Right. JetBlue has all Airbus fleet. Word to the wise. Michael O'Leary, CEO of Ryanair, Europe's largest airline and one that flies only Boeing 737 planes. You hear that? Ryanair told CNN last week that whenever it takes deliveries of Boeing jets, quote, "We spend 48 hours going through the plane, checking it for errors, omissions, or anything else." And O'Leary said while it hasn't found anything major in those checks, it regularly finds minor problems such as tools under floorboards and missing seat handles that, quote, "shows, I think, a lack of attention to detail quality issues in Boeing." Wow, that makes me feel really safe to fly on a Boeing. Scott Kirby, CEO of United, described the Alaska Air incident as the, quote, "straw that broke the camel's back" for its plans to get the MAX 10 this year as planned, and it is now looking at possibly buying jets from Boeing rival Airbus to take the place of the MAX 10s it has ordered. But it is difficult for airlines to shift to Airbus, which has a long backlog of jets it has already committed to build for its existing customer base. Any Boeing customer shifting to Airbus could find itself waiting until 2030 or beyond to get its planes delivered. And operating two types of aircraft of the same class is costly since pilots are certified to fly specific aircraft, and most cannot shift back and forth between an Airbus and a Boeing without training. And the airline needs to keep a supply of expensive spare parts on hand for every type of aircraft it operates. The Boeing 737 MAX 9 was grounded for 3 weeks after the Alaska Air incident as airlines completed inspections of their own planes' door plugs. Minakuchi disclosed that many of his planes were discovered to have loose bolts, although he did not mention missing bolts. Well, as long as they're there. hey.
Right.
As long as all you need is a ratchet to put the plane together yourself before you fly it. An audit of Boeing procedures by the FAA in the wake of the Alaska Air incident found numerous non-compliance issues. The agency gave the company 90 days to come up with a plan to fix its safety and quality issues. But the probes at Boeing aren't limited to the FAA audit. A preliminary investigation of the Alaska Air incident found that the plane left the Boeing factory in October without the 4 bolts needed to keep the door plug in place. While the NTSB has not identified who is at fault for the missing bolts, NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy criticized Boeing for not providing the agency with the documentation for who handled the installation of the door plug. And Boeing is also facing an investigation by the Justice Department, which could open it up to criminal liability and upend a controversial deferred prosecution agreement the company reached in January 2021 to settle charges it defrauded the FAA during the original certification process for the 737 MAX last decade. It was days away from having that probation-like period end when the Alaska Air incident happened. Let me just explain this for a moment. I keep saying Dennis Muhlenberg, who was the CEO at Boeing, among others, should be in prison for life. They killed 346 people. These people were like the mayor in Jaws. It's telling people it's safe to go in the water when they knew perfectly well these planes were not safe. They knew they were not safe. There are incontrovertible internal communications and emails making it very clear that they knew this plane was not safe. And they lied to the FAA. Criminal liability. In the end, when you're rich and you murder 346 people, you can pay a fine.
Right.
Right? If I go and kill my neighbor, what am I doing? 20 years? These guys killed 346 people. Not only do they not go to jail, Muhlenberg got out with a golden parachute. I think they gave him $60 million on the way out the door. Unbelievable. That's why this story pisses me off so much. Boeing was once known as a company that put engineering excellence ahead of financial performance and produced planes that were the gold standard in the industry. Critics of the company say that focus has changed in the last 25 years, citing the 1997 merger with competitor McDonnell Douglas for the shift in focus on saving money. Calhoun is one of the executives since that time with no engineering background, having served as senior managing director and head of portfolio operations at investing firm the Blackstone Group, as well as CEO of Nielsen after 26 years at General Electric. Well, he sounds qualified to run a plane company, doesn't he? Now, The Lever did an article I just became aware of. We might cover that because it was pretty comprehensive. So Boeing, since the merger with McDonnell Douglas, where they really shifted to a financial model of running the company, just chasing the stock price and the end of quarter numbers, they have given out over $800 million in dividends and stock buybacks rather than to invest that money in safety upgrades that they were advised to make. They ignored that. Once they went in this financial route, they subcontracted the building of the plane parts to a company called Spirit. Why? Because Spirit doesn't have a strong union. So Spirit could really underpay its workers, and Boeing could really lean on them to crank out these plane parts in a way that they couldn't with their own unionized workforce. And that allowed them to fire 1,100 people who used to build these parts with quality and actual control of the process.
Right. So you could say, if we wanted to split hairs and parse this, that Boeing really shifted from a market-based model, which is prioritize engineering over short-term profits, and that will make you a major player in the market because you will produce products that are good and that work, and you will make money off of them by selling them. You switch from that to a capitalist model, and there's a difference. Markets are not unique to capitalism. Markets exist under socialism as well. Capitalism is about making money off of existing money, i.e. building capital using existing capital, the financialization of the company, which chases, as Russell said, short-term profits. So they
just want to beat the analyst estimates for the quarter. That's it.
Yes, absolutely. That's it. And you take it 3 months at a time. What's especially idiotic about this in Boeing's case is you're Boeing. You are military-industrial complex. You have a constant cash flow coming in every single year. They pass budget after budget, $800-900 billion for the military. You're getting a piece of that action every year, guaranteed. Yep. Guaranteed. What do you got to do this for? What do you have to do this for? There's no reason to. If you had any actual business sense, you would say, hey, we sit pretty here. We get paid by the government every year to build our planes. Why do you think Boeing advertises on Meet the Press? You think the average person sitting home on their couch watching Chuck Todd is in the market for a 737? No, those are bribes so that the media covers government wars favorably so that Boeing keeps getting sweetheart contract after sweetheart contract year after year after year. And it's a virtual fucking guarantee. So there's no reason to shift to this model except the just unimaginable greed of these ghouls who will literally, just like their military-industrial complex masters, kill for money.
Not only that, it is such a case of penny wise, pound foolish, because what did you think was going to happen to your brand when these choices caught up with you? Did you really think they were never going to hurt them in the market? This is what I was saying on Jimmy's last night, because we were covering this from a slightly different perspective, more on the golden parachute. People have not even begun to think through the consequences of what's going to happen when Boeing goes down. And it is literally and figuratively, it is my opinion that Boeing can't recover from this. They can't recover. And eventually, I hope I'm wrong, a Boeing is going to crash, and that's going to be it. That's going to be it. With all of this in the air, they're going to ground all the Boeings. And at that point, what's going to be left of that company? I mean, they might have to take it over. They might have to do a GM. Like, they might just not be able to let Boeing even continue for a while as a private company. And you know how you can tell this is going to happen? A lot of people on the left, okay, you're anti-capitalist, but pay attention to what the financial markets are doing, because these people are degenerate gamblers with a lot of inside information. Companies that are lesser known, that manufacture commercial planes, their fucking stock prices have doubled over the last few months because everyone's trying to place a bet on which of these companies is going to pick up the slack when Boeing goes down. They know what's coming.
Right. So there are instances where capitalism and where a sort of capitalist incentives and market incentives go hand in hand, but there are instances where those diverge. And what happened with Boeing is an instance where, because so many people assume, capitalism and markets are the same thing. They use those terms as if they mean the exact same thing. They don't mean the same thing. Those incentives can run parallel to each other. They can merge or they can diverge. In this case, Boeing's incentives, by switching from a more market-based incentive, how do we make a good product that people will continue to want to buy and invest in? They decided to go a different way, which is let's financialize our company, switch models, switch incentives to chase the short-term dollar based off of the stock price. And what did it do? It killed their company. It hurt them in the market. They'd have been better off doing it the other way. So it's important to understand that market incentives and capital incentives, pardon me, do not always go hand in hand.
No,
not necessarily.
I mean, this is really what we saw during the pandemic.
Excuse me.
At this point, Wall Street is a virtual reality economy. It has nothing to do with the real economy anymore.
Right.
Fucking market was off the hook when everyone was locked in their house. That's not a reflection of what's happening in the economy.
Exactly. Yes, that's a good point. Yes, that is a very, very good example. All righty. Let's go to some super chats here. Where does the dogs and cats soundbite come from? That is from Ghostbusters, right?
That's Ghostbusters, yeah.
Dogs and cats living together, total chaos. Yes.
Apparently the new movie's not very good.
I heard that the first remake was good.
I kind of liked it. The Afterlife one. I thought I thought it was good. They're all beating up on this one. All the geeks don't like it.
Thanks for the $5. I can't believe Keaton is selling out his fellow Malteser. Yes, Pete Buttigieg is Maltese. Apparently, Buttigieg is a very common Maltese last name. I did not know that. Pete Baldwin says Pete Sweet. Thank you. I want to pull who's worse, Kamala or Pete. Interesting thing about Kamala, I would have to say as a candidate, you'd have to go with Kamala. I mean, there's just nothing worse than Kamala as a candidate. Hey, rumors are... Go ahead.
I read a little profile by Maureen Dowd of James Carville, a very affectionate profile, in which he once again demonstrated what a fucking total moron he is, because he's doing the whole thing complaining, Democratic Party, they got to realize people don't like this woke stuff. They got to get away from this woke stuff. And then he's asked about Kamala. Yeah, most of the bad feelings towards her are misogyny and sexism. Oh, really? Really? The Democrats have to be less woke, and you're supposed to be this bull goose master political strategist, and you don't recognize that Kamala's lack of popularity is because of Kamala? Right. You're blaming it on sexism, but the Democratic Party's too woke. But you're not.
Right. I haven't heard. It's common that Tulsi is interested in being Trump's vice president pick for the campaign. And if that happens, that would be amazing, because then Tulsi and Kamala would have to go head to head in a debate for 90 minutes. It would be a full-length rematch of the Democrat debate where she basically ended Kamala's campaign.
That would be a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Ben doesn't want to serve in combat, that's all. Yeah, that could be it. That could be why he's here instead of there. I'll go slightly out of order because this is a technical thing. Nocturnal Human says, Keaton, your microphone cut out for a second earlier. Now it's getting slightly staticky. Does anybody hear that? With an echo sometimes. Not bad, but check it out when you have time. All right, I will. Is anybody else hearing anything weird? Because I did knock my hand into the wire, so I hope I didn't fuck it up. If I did, I apologize. All righty, let's go to some more super chats here. Amadeus, with few exceptions, liberals and conservatives alike never cared about anyone's rights but their own. Their sense of honor runs no deeper than their tolerance. That never changed and never will. Thank you.
You're right.
Daniel Patrick. Russell, any response to the allegations in this morning's Red Bar report? Mike David says he'll be reading your leaked text on air tomorrow. Stuff.
Uh-oh.
Oh, boy. Uh-oh. Sir Bikes a Lot Day. You could tell a lot about a transit system by its bus stop sign. South Bend transit system is crap. I visited South Bend in 2017. Yeah, apparently it's a shithole. That's what I've heard about it.
That would be really funny. That's okay. If I'm going to Dearborn and we have some extra money, I should do a detour into South Bend and interview people about Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, it's not that it wouldn't be that far out of the way if you drive. It would be pretty close. It's right on the way. Scott George, surgeons often leave tools in patients. Come on, what's the big deal? Playing God is a stressful business. Thank you, Scott George. Let's go to some Rumble rants. These are coming in here. When it's Livre, he says, Mayo Pete, much as I despise him, wasn't wrong. He was cribbing this info from Robert Caro's Moses biography, The Power Broker. But you're saying that they deliberately designed the overpasses low so that the buses couldn't go under them? Wouldn't that just create a totally chaotic?
The white people, the trucks have to go.
It would affect white people as well. And also, I mean, to do that creates such massive problems. I mean, that Power Broker book is a huge book. I mean, if you know something I don't, I get that it certainly could be true. But the thing is, when you make an overpass low that the buses can't fit under it, now you create just absolutely massive tie-ups, because what if a bus ends up on that road, which inevitably it's going to happen a lot, that they're going to end up there by accident, and then what are you going to have to do, close the road and clear it out? Like, it doesn't, it just makes no sense.
And trucks, we don't have farms in New York. Everything is dependent on being
the
trucked
trucks
in from the outside. Like, how could you even do that? It doesn't make any sense. And if you did do that, couldn't they just use the road that you left open for the trucks?
Right.
Like, why would they just not go that way? Like, the whole premise doesn't make any sense. That having been said, yeah, I mean, Robert Moses did shit. You know, if you go out to the Rockaways, there are streets that just end in fields for like projects that he just never completed.
Right.
You know, he wanted to run an overpass through Lower Manhattan.
Yeah,
he
through
wanted
the
to
village
destroy
in Lower
the aquarium. They had to landmark it to stop him.
Yeah. Yep. There's a whole book written about that. It was good. Read that during my tour guide days. Thank you for any show open people's eyes to prison system. I followed USA prison workers strike the 13th.
Yeah,
Great documentary on the subject. Yep, that was good. We seem to be following USA on this in Australia, same company.
I still have it over here. That is based on this book, 13th.
Yeah.
It's based on the new Jim Crow.
Reference to the 13th Amendment, obviously, is what the what that title refers to. That was by Ava DuVernay. Out on R was super bummed to hear about the death of Carl Wallinger of World Party fame earlier this month. Ship of Fools is a certifiable banger. Check it out. P.S. Love you guys. Yeah, he was, what was he? He wasn't that old. He was like, I don't even think he was 70 yet. Yeah, that is a bummer. EJ Imagine, how do we get tickets for the live show? Okay, EJ Imagine, I believe this is Eileen. So maybe you filed in late. That's okay. We were trying to have them on sale for today, but we ran into a little bit of technical difficulties with the ticket seller platform.
It sucked,
right? Because it fucking sucks ass. No,
it was gonna be too fucked up. They were only gonna let us put out the 2 and the 7 shows 2 different links. And if I know how shit like that goes as an old theater guy, some people would have bought tickets for the show that they wanted to go to, which would have been wrong. Right. You would add people for the 2 showing up at 7 and 7 for the 2.
7 for the 2, or some people, if they're coming with a friend, hey, you bought tickets to the 2, I have tickets to the 7. What do we do? Yeah. Right. It would have been a nightmare. So we need it for one page where you can either buy the 2 or the 7. And we'll have that ready for you guys by Sunday. But like I said, folks, now that we have a lot of people in here, 2,400 of you in here, any New York area dissidents who want to come to the live show, or non-New York area dissidents who want to make a trip of it, go see the Statue of Liberty, go to Central Park, do the whole tourist thing, and make us the center of your New York vacation.
Some folks like to get away.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be summertime. Make a summer vacation out of it. Come see us live in New York. Join our Substack, because we're going to put the link up.
I'm going to take Tusker on a communist tour of New York.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Go see the Weather Underground House, right?
I think I'm the only tour guide in New York that covers that.
Oh, yeah? Yeah,
I do. Well, because I developed a weird New York tour, and that's on it. I take them to the Weather Underground House.
I've covered it on driving tours when we've passed it by sometimes. If you join our newsletter on Substack, no.
Co-founder of WeWork.
Oh, interesting. If you go join our Substack, it's a free newsletter. We will send out the link for tickets that morning. So we're going to put the link for tickets to the live show up live on Sunday night. But when you join our newsletter, you get a heads up before every show, and we will put the tickets to the live show, the link to buy tickets, in that email. So make sure you sign up there. It's free. We'll do our patron scroll anyway in just a moment, but let's do one more segment before we get to that, since I don't have it.
Do we owe a number of the beast? We got 3,300 watching.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, we do. We owe it to Rumble. Yes, we do. 1149 strong over on Rumble, 2369 on YouTube and Twitter. Hit that like button, folks. Thanks for being here this morning. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that follow button. Let's go on to segment number 4. Okay, this is a fun one. This would be a lot more fun if we were allowed to play the video, but we're not. So forgive the tediousness of having to narrate certain parts of this segment. But the New York Post reports Jon Stewart benefited by 829% overvalue of his New York City home, even as he labels Trump's civil case not victimless. So for those who don't know, Jon Stewart,
this story.
Yeah, Jon Stewart did a segment on the Daily Show on Monday, making the case that Donald Trump did actually defraud people and harmed people by overvaluing his property in the New York case, that he recently had to post what ended up being a $175 million bond in order to go forward and try and make his case that he doesn't owe them anything. That's a very expensive appeal, $175 million. Seems like a pretty steep price to be able to make your case that you're not on the hook for something. But that's New York, baby. Comedian Jon Stewart ranted this week that Donald Trump's civil real estate case overvaluing his properties was not victimless. Yet when it came to his own home, Stewart benefited from a similar inflation. On Monday night, Stewart, 61, unpacked Trump's $454 million appeal bond, calling out experts framing the former president's New York civil case as not causing direct harm to any individual. The Daily Show host rolled a clip of CNN's Laura Coates interviewing Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary, who commented that the ruling didn't go over well with the real estate industry that was now fretting over the possibility of becoming the next targets. Coates responds to O'Leary by highlighting that Trump was found liable for falsifying business records in the second degree, issuing false financial statements, insurance fraud, and conspiracy, all due to asset inflation. In response, Stewart asked, how is he not this mad about overvaluations in the real world? Because they are not victimless crimes, he said. To further his point, Stewart argued that money isn't infinite. A loan that goes to the liar doesn't go to someone who's giving a more honest evaluation, so the system becomes incentivized for corruption. Stewart also contended that failing...
Okay, so let me just say, that's fucking bullshit. Citibank, Chase Bank, Deutsche Bank, they have their fingers in the economies of fucking countries all over the world.
Of course.
I promise you, Deutsche Bank has never said, we would have given you the loan, but Donald Trump got your loan. I promise you that doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, and we're talking about figures here that are a drop in the bucket next to what these banks have on hand to loan out.
That's what I'm saying. Like these banks are almost government level assets.
Yeah,
and more than some governments around the world.
Yeah, and that's actually a very right-wing argument that money isn't infinite. That's like saying we can't afford free college in America because
It's just
money we would put into free college has to go somewhere else, and it's not infinite. It's not infinite, even though our military budget's almost $1 trillion a year, right?
Well, I just for a little background on this story, because I still might do it. I don't know if I'll have time though. MSNBC wrote a very approving op-ed piece about how Jon Stewart had seen the light because his last two episodes he stopped his both sidesism and exclusively attacked Donald Trump and Republicans. So basically, I mean, we've seen this since Jon Stewart came back. It's a great case of he should have stayed retired, man. He's just destroying his reputation piece by piece, with some of what he did on The Problem, with interviews that he did glowingly with, who do you have on? Hillary Clinton, right? Was it Hillary Clinton?
It was Hillary Clinton, Condoleezza Rice, yeah.
And Condoleezza Rice, right. So he was already eroding his reputation. And what he's doing now, he won't stand up to the libs. In the end, he wants to play it like he's the edgy, cool one. He doesn't have those kind of fucking balls. Not at the end of the day. So I believe their op-ed insofar as if MSNBC is writing an approving op-ed, I'm sure he really did do a turnaround where he's not going after Joe Biden anymore. Where apparently he did like a self-own the way he did with his ancient trans bits about Judge Chicks with Dicks. Apparently he did one of those. And some people have been attacking Joe Biden. He did one of those, according to this article. So I saw some of this before this broke. And yeah, the whole segment was bullshit. It was total bullshit. The more you see of Jon Stewart post-red pilling, the more you realized a lot of what you swallowed from Jon Stewart back in the day was probably bullshit too. You just didn't realize it.
So Stewart also contended that failing to declare a higher market value on a property while paying taxes based on a lower assessed value constitutes fraudulent behavior. The Attorney General of New York knew that Trump's property values were inflated because when it came time to pay taxes, Trump undervalued the very same property, Stewart added. It was all part of a very specific real estate practice known as lying. It's also a very common real estate practice, which was really Kevin O'Leary's point. But it didn't take long for the internet sleuths to look into Stewart's own property history, which shows his New York City penthouse sold for 829% more than its assessed value, records confirmed by the Post reveal. So before we get into that, he shows a montage in the segment, and like I said, I apologize. We have to be kind of tedious about this and narrate and explain the segment because we're not allowed to just show it. God forbid Comedy Central would let people comment on their material without turning the video off. But he shows a montage of O'Leary negotiating with Shark Tank contestants.
That was so stupid.
Where they say that their valuation is high, where they list a certain valuation of their company that they're trying to get the sharks to invest in. And O'Leary starts arguing with them about how, no, your valuation is too high. It's too high. It's too high. You're overvaluing. Well, doesn't that demonstrate that the other side has some autonomy?
Of course.
As to
that's a
negotiating
negotiation.
power? That's the whole
it's a
point.
Negotiation.
Right. That's the whole point.
I said this when we talked about this the other day. If I say, listen, I'm selling the Gandhi here, I want $50,000 for it, and somebody says yes, did I defraud them?
Right.
That's something we agreed to. You feel it's worth $50,000. That's, to some extent, that's in the eye of the beholder. You're willing to pay that.
Right. And speaking
it's not a public service.
Of course. Of course. And speaking of eye of the beholder, perhaps some person thought that Jon Stewart's duplex was worth more than a regular duplex on the market because it was Jon Stewart's, right? It's like in Seinfeld. Yeah, it's John Voight's car. You know, the previous owner was John Voight, right?
Well, and there's another thing. This is what I said. I didn't even understand this until I read this article. The assessed value is always far below the market value. The assessed value that your property taxes are based on are always way under the market value of. I mean, that's
obviously
that's not just in real estate business. That's just if you're going to buy a house. You're not paying the assessed value, but you are on the taxes on that property.
So Stewart sold his 6,280 square foot Tribeca duplex for $17.5 million in 2014. $17.5 million. Stewart also contended that failing to declare a higher market value on a property while paying taxes based on a lower assessed value constitutes fraudulent behavior. Oh, sorry, what did I do? I fucked that one up. In 2014, Stewart sold his 6,280 square foot Tribeca duplex to financier Parag Pande for $17.5 million. The property's asking price at that time is not available in listing records. But according to 2013 and 2014 assessor records obtained by the Post, the property had the estimated market value at only $1.882 million. The actual assessor valuation was even lower at about $847,000. Records also show that Stewart paid significantly lower property taxes, which were calculated based on that assessor valuation price, precisely what he called Trump out for doing in his Monday monologue. Pande, who purchased the penthouse from Stewart, then resold the property at a nearly 26% loss, according to The Real Deal, just over $13 million in 2021. Well, in fairness.
Nobody cared about owning a house formerly owned by Pande.
Well, that was also when New York real estate took a dive because of the pandemic. A lot of people were fleeing for the suburbs. So fair is fair. You can't really cite that as an argument. Meanwhile, the New York assessor valuation on Stewart's former penthouse is the exact same citation method and metric that New York Attorney General Letitia James used to value Trump's private and personal properties and then sued him for inflating those assets. Market value was never considered throughout the case. And then this is something that Stewart made mention of, too.
Wow. I did not even realize that. This case, I thought the case was bullshit before. Now it's mind-boggling that they even brought this case, much less won it in court.
Right.
It's so clearly it was clearly a political prosecution before. But now it's just really, wow, they actually brought this case? I can't believe that. You could sue. I mean, O'Leary is right. You could fucking bring in anybody on this basis.
Oh, of course. Well, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty obvious. The difference they put here at the end between Stewart and Trump's case is that Trump also sometimes lied to lenders about how big his properties were, including the square footage of his Trump Tower apartment.
Well, he definitely seems like the kind of guy who would lie about how big he is.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, he's definitely, at least what we said. We definitely said
I'm telling you, honey, it's 12 inches if it's an inch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And what made this segment especially frustrating, and what makes Jon Stewart especially frustrating, is that whatever his politics and, however he has succumbed to the libs since that opening monologue he did on his first show back about how Biden's too old, he is talented. He is funny. Like this piece was actually funny. I found myself hating it, but laughing at it at the same time. Like he has skills. And that's what makes it all the more a shame, because if you could put those skills to use in a really good way, right? To actually tell the truth about things rather than, I mean, even the opening sentence of this monologue, the big news of the day is Trump's bond. That's not the big news of the day, man. There's a genocide going on. There's a starvation going on. This is not the big news of the day. No one gives a fuck about this except the people who are in the kind of bubble that watch your show still and watch MSNBC still. Like, this is not the big news. But even that, he did this funny bit where he says, I've been waiting for this moment since 2016 when the Trump empire is going to fall, and he takes out a confetti cannon and shoots it in the air, and the audience laughs. And then he does the Daily Show thing where they start playing all of the ways in which the tide turns, and it cuts back to him, and he starts putting the confetti back in the cannon, and then it plays another clip, and he takes a little handheld vacuum out. Like, it's good comedy. Yeah. Like, it is actually funny. Like, Trevor Noah wasn't funny, and so like it wasn't interesting on any level. This is like, man, I find myself hating you but still laughing at you at the same time. He is a real talent, which makes it all the more shameful that he puts it to use in this way. Mehdi Hasan, same way. He's actually good. He actually has a skill set. Sure. He just almost always uses it for evil. Uses it to parrot conformity, which is just such a waste. It's such a waste because average people can use their average talent in that way. You want especially bright people, especially gifted people, to use it in some other way, in a way that actually provides some real enlightenment. And since that first monologue, which was not a brilliant monologue, but it was a solid monologue about Biden's being too old, since then, yeah, he's been making up for that ever since. They brought him to heel real quick.
Well, apparently in his second episode, he kind of doubled down and poked the bear. Well, some people didn't like the and then I guess he got a phone call. I guess
right.
Hey, you see what happened to that whistleblower?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Apparently he shut up. As I said, that is exactly why he should have stayed retired, because he is talented, and if he had missed a step when he came back, you could say, yeah, he was probably better back then. But now what I come away watching him saying is, no, he was probably always this person you just didn't notice. He was probably always bullshitting, and because he was so talented, it looked credible. Because now that you know better and you see him using all the same techniques, that's what happened to me with John Oliver. My John Oliver moment was when he did the third party thing where he completely misrepresented Jill Stein's position. And I saw that he sold it exactly the way he sells anything else. So how do you know when he's lying? Unless you personally know the fact set, as I did in that case. Same thing with Stewart.
Well, I mean, on the other hand, yes, I did know the fact set during those Iraq war days, too. I paid close attention. So, like, they checked out in that way. Because don't forget, everything has kind of changed now.
I didn't say everything he said. But I bet you there were a lot of segments that you swallowed, that I swallowed pre-2016, that were probably bullshit. And you just didn't catch it because you didn't know. You didn't know. You didn't look for other sources of information. I didn't.
Well, I did. That's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of the Iraq war stuff, because don't forget, everybody's politics just became inside out once Trump came onto the scene. All of a sudden, the Democrats became the neocons, which meant that Democrat-affiliated media had to make that same switch, had to make that same exact pivot.
Yeah.
So the entire ethos of these operations changed on a dime.
Sure. Yes and no. I mean, he didn't spend 10 years exclusively covering Iraq. He covered a lot of things.
Well, I'm just saying
a lot of those stories where he got into where he used the typical techniques that he still uses, that he used on the problem, where you get somebody who you know is not camera ready, not media ready, and you get that person to represent the side of the argument that you want to knock down. I am sure if you went back and you watched a lot of old Daily Show, you would find a lot of cases where he was representing what we would consider the wrong position, but he sold it and you bought it.
Perhaps. Like I said, I don't none come to mind, but perhaps. Sparky, thanks for the $10. It's difficult enough in a big company for the right hand to know what the left's doing. Now scatter the company into subcontractors worldwide. Imagine how that goes. Boeing's issues are structural.
Listen, I said this on Jimmy's last night. People have not even begun to reckon with what it's going to mean when Boeing can no longer fly its planes. Do you know what this is going to do to the entire world global economy when you take one of the two manufacturers of planes out of the equation and you can only fly Airbuses and a few minor competitors? The tourism industry will die overnight worldwide. People have not even begun to really think this through.
Yeah, all kinds of industries. I mean, air travel is kind of a fundamental, is it not? Folks, you can go to patreon.com/do dissidents and help support our show. It is what keeps us going. Like I said at the top of the show, for those who filed in a bit late this morning, we have a supporter stream tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. That is our second and final supporter stream of March. And so perks of signing up at patreon.com/do dissidents and supporting our operation include your name up in lights here in the show credits. You also get call-in access to our post-show Q&As, which are every Sunday evening. You also get access to 2 member-exclusive programs. Those happen twice a month. We do 1 evening show and 1 matinee. So tomorrow is the morning matinee. That's Friday, the 29th at 10 a.m. Patreon.com/do dissidents is where you can go to sign up. You can also sign up at our Substack. Perks start at $5 a month, or our locals. If you're watching on Rumble, there's a bright red join button right underneath the video player where you can click to join our locals community. Like I said, plans start at just $5 a month. All those perks are the same across all 3 of those platforms, and they really help keep us going here. The reason we add 4 shows a week now, the reason we do 4 a week now instead of 3, is because we have enough patrons who donate enough to carve out the time for us to devote to a 4th weekly show. Our patrons, our Substackers, our locals members are the backbone of the operation. We always say that every time, in public and in private. And so thank you all very much for signing up. You can go to patreon.com/do dissidents. Let's go to Paul Bushman. I despise people to judge, but LI Long Island Parkway bridges were built low to prevent buses and trucks. Interesting. Arguably affected poor people of color, not middle-class Long Island suburbanites.
Listen, man, if you fucking tell me that we owe Pete Buttigieg an apology, I'm going to lose my fucking shit.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That's not what it is too early for that.
I will smash this fucking computer into a million pieces. Yeah.
I will never come back.
I mean, I'll look into it. Like I said, I'm always up to learn.
I will, because we have several people saying there was actually something to that. So, okay.
Like a racist motive to it? Like, I understand, like, infrastructure always has class in mind. Like, you always design certain things for people with money who pay more property taxes, and then the people who pay lower property taxes get shittier roads and things like that. Like, I don't deny that. Sure. The height of a bridge seems like a stretch, but we'll look into it.
Because it seems like, how do you determine who that affects?
Right. Who do you know who's going under a bridge?
Right. Don't what, white people don't need to take buses?
They don't need to go under a bridge, right?
Like what? That's what doesn't make sense. But hey, I will look into it. We'll look into it.
We'll look into it. Circle back. Sparky, thanks for the $2. There may be no fixing Boeing. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You would probably need a government takeover. They would probably have to bring in the Army Corps of Engineers.
It is a good question. Nocturnal Human, have pilots started refusing to fly Boeing planes? Is that allowed? That's interesting.
I mean, not if you want to keep your job.
Yeah, they would have to do a strike. They'd have to organize.
There are a lot of them working at the plants. We saw that video. We played it in a segment where they went with an undercover camera, and all these people who actually are building these planes said, no, we wouldn't let our family on one of these planes.
Yeah. Looking at how the military-industrial complex toys didn't work in Ukraine, in fact, killed the users in a lot of cases, looking at what you say about Boeing, I now see why. Thank you, old stoner. Bobby Digital, thanks for the $2 over on Rumble. Boeing stock still has a lot of potential to go up, but has a lot has to go right. Barron's article posted today. LOL. Yeah, might be a fun follow-up.
Look at the numbers.
It ain't over yet.
The minor commercial aviation companies, all their stocks are at fucking all-time highs, man. The people who know, and they're trying to figure out which of these companies is going to wind up filling the void when Boeing goes down.
Got it. Winnetou Livre, yes, it was to keep low-income New Yorkers out of Long Island.
All right.
Thanks, Winnetou Livre.
You know, as it turns out, he may be our greatest transportation.
Yeah, he may be the greatest. Yeah, maybe the best.
We
best
got
there
him
ever
all.
was.
We got him all wrong.
Yeah, I can't believe. I'm starting to wonder why he didn't run it up with the African American vote last time. In fact, Ellen Jimerson, thanks for the $1. Melissa DeBosk headed up an investigation into the Ciudad Juarez fire. I'm assuming that's what that meant. 15-minute doc called Smoke and Lies contradicts each bit of the official narrative. Can't remember who asked. Thank you, Ellen. Appreciate that. Let's go to some YouTube super chats. Over 2,200 watching live just on YouTube. Thanks, Pat Donahue. Morning Dew shows could be the future, lads. Well, we're going to stick to one a week for now because that's what we kind of can work into the schedule. But yes, now we do 2 matinees in addition to the morning show. So you get a couple evening shows over there in Ireland, in addition to this afternoon one over there on your side of the pond. But thank you for that. Great to see you here. Great to see all our Euro dissidents here. Arpoon Wafy's another one. Payday today. Few bucks to you guys and takeaway for dinner. Belated congrats on the 50K. Thank you. Love seeing you guys do well. Thank you, Arpoon. Haven't seen you in the chat in a while. Good to see you back. Thank you very much. Sparky, Brazil could benefit. Embraer could start making bigger jets. Thank you, Sparky. Zaldivar says the U.S. is an apartheid state. Instead of being divided by race, ethnicity, religion, is based on class. The rich enjoy more rights than everyone else. Indeed. Biden is like Boeing, faulty parts not working. Thank you, Kenman. Appreciate that. Tony B.
All right, so you want an answer on the bridges?
I can see Keaton's hair growing. Thank you, Tony B. Appreciate that. Go ahead.
Okay, so the claim was made in that book, The Power Broker. That's where this comes from. But it was attributed only to one source. There was one source who claimed that Robert Moses ordered the overpasses to be built lower to keep blacks out. There was no corroborating source. So
that was Joe Biden, probably.
That was probably.
He's probably praising him for it. Hey, good job on those bridges.
I don't want my kids growing up in a racial jungle where anyone can go to the beach. Yeah. Okay, so I will screen share it so you can see what I'm getting this from. So we'll read it together. But since The Power Broker was published, as always in history, there has been some revisionism, and Moses's achievements are now viewed in a better light. In particular, the anecdote about the Parkway bridges has been increasingly questioned, along with other details in Caro's book. Bernward Jorges, I'm guessing, a German professor of sociology in 1999, carefully examined the saga of the bridges. In an essay, he acknowledged Moses was an undemocratic scoundrel and a structural racist, but argues that all parkways at the time had low bridges. Quote, how then should one understand that Moses built some 200 overpasses so low, he asked. U.S. civil engineers with whom I have corresponded regularly produced 2 simple explanations for the rationality of the low-hanging bridges. That commercial traffic was excluded from the parkways anyway, and that the generally good transportation situation on Long Island forbade the very considerable cost of raising the bridges. Moses did nothing differently on Long Island from any parks commissioner in the country. In sum, Moses could hardly have let buses on his parkways, even if he had wanted differently. So, okay, so Buttigieg, listen, to be fair, Buttigieg didn't get it wrong based on a commonly understood apparent myth from that book. All right, so he didn't misspeak, but it turns out that he has bad information. based on that.
Arpu and Wafy, Coleman Hughes did a good job on The View, focusing on class issues over culture wars. Audience were receptive too. Yeah, I saw something about that. I did see something about
I like
that.
it. You know, I'm preparing for the Dissident Dialogues. I've committed myself. There's no way I can read all the books of the guests, but I got some of them on Audible so that when I'm walking or washing dishes, I can absorb the book. So I'm working through John McWhorter's right now, who kind of, you know, he's in the same territory. And it's very good. Woke racism. It's very good.
Nashinth, black and Puerto Rican kids are poor, so they can't afford food. Oh, this is a theory about the buses are high or low depending on who's in them. With lighter kids, the bus rides higher. Whiter kids are heavier, the bus lower, and can get onto the overpass. Totally our infrastructure. Yeah, there you go. I like the joke. I like the politically incorrect humor. But actually, if I can nitpick, since apparently this is the nitpicking show, actually, when you're poorer, you tend to be heavier because the food is shittier.
The food is
makes
shitty,
you fatter. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Trying to fill your stomach with Doritos.
Exactly, but good joke though, nonetheless. Russ, do you ever give tours at the NYC Underground? Thank you, Anthony Ringat.
No, you know, man, I have a friend who specializes in that. A great tour guide named Gary Dennis, who that's his specialty. If you're ever interested in a tour like that.
All righty. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Russell, do you include locations of bookstores in your commie tour? I think there were some in Greenwich Village during the Great Depression, if not before, which may have been communist.
You know, Sparky, I can give you a good answer on that. Okay.
There still is one in Midtown. Isn't there Revolution Books in Chelsea?
No, there was Revolution Books a few blocks from my house.
Oh, did they move? Because they used to be further down.
You hear that, stalkers?
Yeah.
So 4th Avenue used to be known as Booksellers Row. Back when people read, you could support dozens of bookstores within a few blocks. The last survivor of that is the much beloved New York institution, the Strand. It's the last survivor of Booksellers Row. Now, Revolution Books used to be in Booksellers Row, and they moved into Harlem. So I would say that is probably the last communist bookstore left in New York. They are, I believe they're affiliated with, what's his name? Bob Akavian? Akavian,
I think, yeah.
Akavian, yeah. Tusker would know more about that.
There was definitely one. They definitely had a store in Chelsea. I don't know if that was in between, if they gradually moved up. They definitely had one either Chelsea or Midtown, yeah, for sure. Because it was right near one of my favorite places to eat in New York City, B&B Restaurant Corp., which is an African and Caribbean cafeteria-style place that a lot of the cab drivers used to eat at. Oh, my God. That food is unbelievable. You got to go there, Russell. If you like jerk chicken, you got to go there.
That's where you wanted to go when you were going to come in the city. Is that one of the times you were going to come in the city and you didn't come in the city?
It's absolutely killer.
That's Keaton specialized.
It's my favorite restaurant in the city, yeah. Jeffrey Long became a YouTube member. Thank you, Jeffrey Long. Appreciate that very much. That's very kind of you. I'll never forgive Tulsi for endorsing Biden, says Amadeus. I won't forgive Tulsi for supporting Israel now. She's clearly got some hang-up about Muslims. There's no doubt about that. I give her the benefit of the doubt about that because her politics were generally anti-war, but there's no question now. She's got something. You know, a lot of the Hindu nationalists have a hang-up about Muslims, and there's no doubt she's got something wrong with her in that way. Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next segment. You ready for the next segment?
I'm ready.
What are you doing? What are you researching things now?
Hey, man, we got to get it right.
Well, do it later. We looked into it. We'll look over to him. He's head in the clouds over here.
Well, that's the difference between me and you, Keaton.
Yeah, you can't.
I care about facts. Facts don't care about your feelings, Keaton.
Yeah, that's the difference to you and me is I care about facts.
That's why I called the Elvis guy and got some exclusive tapes we're going to share on
That's
Sunday.
true. We do have some audio from the Elvis guy. Indeed. All right. Let's keep going here. Let's keep plugging along. Okay, this is an infuriating story here. UN human rights expert Francesca Albanese, this part of it is not infuriating. This part of it is actually quite on point. Here she is reporting on the genocide in Gaza.
Following nearly 6 months of unrelenting Israeli assault on occupied Gaza, It is my solemn duty to report on the worst of what humanity is capable of and to present my finding, the anatomy of a genocide. One of my key findings is that Israel's executive and military leadership and soldiers have intentionally distorted rules of international humanitarian law, distinction, proportionality, and precaution in an attempt to legitimize genocidal violence against the Palestinian people by deliberately stretching the definitions of human shield, evacuation orders, warnings, safe zones, collateral damage, and medical protection. Israel has used their protective function as humanitarian camouflage, with the effect of concealing patterns of conduct from which the only inference can reasonably be drawn is a state policy of genocidal violence against the Palestinians. In light of this, I find that there are reasonable grounds to believe that the threshold indicating the commission of the crime of genocide against Palestinians as a group in Gaza has been met. Specifically, Israel has committed 3 acts of genocide with the requisite intent: causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, and imposing measures intended to prevent birth within the group.
Okay, so this is not the first time she has spoken out against Israel. Human rights expert that she is, makes sense. This wouldn't be her first time. We played a clip of hers way back, I think it was in December or January, where she detailed that you could argue that the simple forced evacuation of millions of people from their homes. Right now, we are at 1.9 million displaced in Gaza. That alone demonstrates a genocidal intent because you are attempting to make the current place unlivable. You are clearing it out. That is collective in nature. And so, you know, she has been a vocal critic of Israel for quite some time. But here she is formally laying out the case, as was made in the ICJ, that this is a genocide according to the letter of international law. Matthew Miller was asked about this at a State Department hearing, and watch what this guy says.
Did you see or read the report made by Francesca Albanese yesterday in Geneva, where she cited, what she showed was irrefutable, as far as she's concerned, irrefutable evidence that Israel engaged in genocide. Did you see the report? What is your comment on it?
I did see the report. Let me say a couple things about it. First, we have for a long-standing period of time opposed the mandate of this special rapporteur, which we believe is not productive. And when it comes to the individual who holds that position, I can't help but note a history of anti-Semitic comments that she has made that have been reported.
She made anti-Semitic comments?
She has, and comments she made in December that appeared to justify the attacks of October 7th. So I think it's important to take that into account. But with respect to the report itself, we have made clear that we believe that allegations of genocide are unfounded. But at the same time, we are deeply concerned by the number of civilian casualties in Gaza, and that's why we have pressed the government of Israel on multiple occasions to do everything it can to minimize those civilian casualties.
You defunded UNRWA.
Once again, we have requested that the press corps does not bring garlic or crucifixes into the room. I'm feeling a little peckish. Please put those away.
Oh, yeah, no, we've made very clear to them that civilian life is of the utmost importance. That's why we just defunded UNRWA for 1 year. It's going to go bankrupt after 60 days. It's not going to be able to exist, in all likelihood, into this summer. 2 other points there. On the first, she made anti-Semitic comments. This is referring to, apparently, from what I could dig up on this, a Facebook post in 2014 that she made referring to the Israel lobby as the Jewish lobby. Now, I don't condone that. I think it's a mistake. I think it's a slip-up. I do my best not to do that. But you know what? It happens every once in a while, and it's a mistake.
Even we do it sometimes.
Even we do it sometimes. It's a mistake. I don't think you should say that, obviously, because Jews ourselves here, we don't have a lobby. You should correct yourself if you do. Okay, all's fair. But you know what? It's an understandable mistake given the fact that, as of today, 80% of Jews back Israel. So it's a mistake, sure. Point taken. But it's not an unforgivable one. It's a very easy one to make given the level of support amongst Jews for what is going on right now. As for that first point that he made, she said she justified the October 7th. Here's what she says on October 9th, 2 days afterwards. Necessary to stand with both Israelis and Palestinians, UN reporter says.
Nazi.
This is an Al Jazeera piece from 2 days after October 7th. This is what she feels. Francesca Albanese, the United Nations Special Reporter on the occupied Palestinian territories, has warned of a dangerous narrative about the Israel-Hamas conflict that ignores the history of violence against Palestinians. At least 1,100 people have been killed since Hamas, the Palestinian group that controls the blockaded Gaza Strip, launched an assault on Israeli towns on Saturday and took hundreds of people hostage. Israel retaliated by declaring a state of war and pounding densely populated Gaza, killing hundreds of people. Now, of course, this was 2 days after. We obviously know what the death toll is now, right? It's almost 100 times that by now. Albanese said the international community should be wise and even-handed when tackling the result of decades of oppression imposed on the Palestinians, brutalization, structural violence, of course, punctuated also by eruptive violence. Like many, this is her quote 2 days after, October 7th. Like many, I am totally petrified by what is happening. I am totally shocked and appalled by the violence, Albanese told Al Jazeera on Sunday evening from Tunisia's capital, Tunis. But before anything else, I am horrified by the narrative, by the discourse, because it is possible and necessary to stand both with the Palestinians and the Israelis without resorting to ethical relativism, to selective outrage, or worse, calls for violence. So as you can see, 2 days after, she did the opposite of what this liar said she did. He said she justified. She says we should stand with Israelis and Palestinians, both, and that she is, what did she say? Totally shocked and appalled by the violence. So you just totally smear the UN human rights expert when she comes out with a conclusive report in her mind that, yes, genocide is being done according to the letter of international law. So this is why we say rhetoric is shifting, because attitudes are shifting, and we're going to get to shifting attitudes in our next piece. But the policy is not changing. They've defunded UNRWA. Now you come out with two really nasty smears and lies about this woman who's been right on this issue for years and who has been speaking in a very measured way since October 7th, saying we need peace so that people stop getting killed on both sides. Now, she pins the blame where I pin the blame. Yes, this is all Israel's fault. Israel is an occupying power. It's all the state of Israel's fault. We don't wish harm on the Israeli people. We don't wish harm on anybody. That's what she just said right there. That's exactly what she said right there. And this piece of shit goes in front of a microphone and just, I mean, that is borderline slander, what he said.
The problem with using these kinds of accusations in such a knee-jerk way to shield yourself from actual debate and conversation is the accusation loses its power, and that's actually really dangerous, because you need to be able to call out anti-Semitism where it exists. You need to be able to call out racism where it exists. These hustlers who just throw it out there to deflect responsibility are endangering lives. They are doing what they claim others are doing. They always use that formulation. People are endangering lives. No, you're fucking endangering lives. You are, as a Jewish person, if there's anything that makes me feel unsafe, it's these fucking psychos. These psychos who are going to get me caught up by association with themselves.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. And there's one final piece here that I want to play. Sorry, I accidentally got rid of the video. I didn't mean to do that. Let me go back to here, because he actually kind of addresses what you just said there.
A number of civilian casualties in Gaza, and that's why we have pressed the government of Israel on multiple occasions to do everything it can to minimize those civilian casualties.
Yeah, well, she's been getting a lot of death threats and other threats and so on, because people think she made anti-Semitic comments and so on. Let me just go to another topic.
You can't make a comment like that without letting me respond. Obviously, death threats against anyone are inappropriate.
Okay.
Okay, so then stop smearing her. Like if you don't want her to get death threats, if that's inappropriate, then stop spreading the most malicious lies imaginable about her, which is that she's an anti-Semitic terrorist. Is basically what you called her. You called her a terrorist sympathizer. So of course she's going to get threats if you parrot those lies about her. So if you really fucking don't want her to be threatened, then stop fucking making up these outrageous lies about her.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen these psychopathic settlers blocking the aid while cooking up popcorn?
Yeah,
you don't need to give these guys a lot of excuse to threaten somebody's life. Like like Count Moloch over here cares what happens to her.
Yeah. If you gave a shit what happens to her, if you gave a shit that she was being threatened, you'd stop smearing her in these ways, right? Because you put out those kinds of lies about somebody, of course they're going to catch threats. Right. Of course, it's inevitable. Yeah. Alrighty. The Democrats need to lose this election to set a precedent for politicians that voters can make a difference, says HHH388. You're not alone in saying that. Many smart people are saying they have to lose.
Yeah. Hey, we're kind of post-electoral process, at least post-duopoly. But yeah, I mean, insofar as strategically you can do anything this election, I would agree with that.
Yeah. The Sum of Us by Heather McGee explains how systemic racism hurt everyone. It never made sense, but they did it anyway. Thank you, Samuel. Appreciate that. As the great Alfred E. Newman so say, what, me worry? Yes, it's a good nickname for him. Got to change my YouTube membership for Patreon, says Jeffrey Long. Thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, we can't offer we would like to be able to offer the member perks to the YouTube members, but we can't because we don't broadcast the member, we don't broadcast our Patreon perks on YouTube. We do those on Rumble so that they can be uncensored streams. So that's why we don't do that. But thank you, Jeffrey. Joe Boo, I cursed Russell for 1 year. This is recompense for him saying, and I quote, "Fuck you, Joe Boo. This curse is strictly for his ability to hit home runs." Did he say "fuck you, Joe Boo"? Or did I say it?
Yeah, no, I don't remember saying that.
I think you got to curse me, Joe Boo, because I don't think Russell even knows that movie. Do you know Major League? You're not a sports fan, so I don't think you know Major League. Yeah, you should watch. Major League was a great movie, even if you don't like baseball.
No, I think I saw it like way back.
Yeah, there's this very superstitious player.
Is that Charlie
Charlie Sheen, Corbin Burnson. There's a very superstitious
I probably
player.
Saw that shit like when it came out.
Yeah. There's a player who's very superstitious. He sets up a shrine to Joe Boo in his locker, who thinks he's going to help him hit curveballs because he can't hit curveballs. And then in the championship game, he's swinging and missing, and he steps out of the batter's box and he says, "You don't help me now? Fuck you, Joe Boo. I do it myself." And he hits a home run. That's the evolution of a character there. You guys do good work. Don't start selling silver. Thank you, Jonathan. No, we might start selling. Actually, somebody did reach out to us. To sell.
Did they ever respond? I keep
they did.
They
did. We have to get back to them. I'll talk to you about that. Actually, we might start hawking cybersecurity software.
Oh, not the escort service.
Yeah, no.
I thought that was more in our wheelhouse.
I don't
on brand.
I think they send you paper letters. I don't think they send you emails. They like to keep that off the books.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah. What? Thanks for the $19.99. Off topic. Has any media outlet aired the drone murder of the 4 Gaza teenagers walking through the rubble? That's made the rounds online, obviously. That's what prompted Alex Jones to say it's a genocide. But I don't
watch corporate media.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just don't watch the TV news, so I'm not sure. Sparky, denazify Israel. Thank you, Sparky. The world is divesting from the dollar anyway, says Amadeus. Boeing falling or not. Thank you for the $5 there, indeed. Let's see here. Let's go to some Rumble rants. T-Bra, thanks for the $5. Once you see the establishment narratives, you can't unsee them. But thanks to Keaton and Russell for helping show them to more people. Well, thank you very much.
We try.
Jeffrey Cola, thanks to the $5. Don't worry, the Russians will just start making airliners. Thank you, Jeffrey Cola. Ricky Dicky, thanks for the $3. I was watching Full Metal Jacket last night, and I apologize in advance for this.
Classic.
Anyone who runs is Hamas. Anyone who stays still is a well-disciplined Hamas. I haven't seen Full Metal Jacket in so long. Let's go to another Rumble rant here. Aspen Fallen, why are Rumble likes always so low? Get it together, Rumble. Smash the like button. They might not be as low. You might just have to refresh. Like YouTube has the auto refresh where it kind of every couple minutes you'll see the numbers scroll. I don't think Rumble has that. So if you refresh, we might be better off. It says we're at 220 likes on Rumble according to Jake's app that he made us. So weigh that against what you see, Aspen Fallen, and therein lies the truth. Okay, let's do one more segment before we turn the lights out on the stream today. We've been talking a lot in recent days and weeks, but especially recent days. I feel like there's been a major shift in public opinion about the Israel-Gaza war just in the past few days, where the United States is finally allowing the UN resolution to pass through, calling for a ceasefire. You have both Alex Jones and AOC finally coming out and saying it's genocide. You have, Netanyahu canceling his appearance at the White House, and you have basically Chuck Schumer saying we need regime change in Israel. So it's been a flood of negative press for Israel, which makes this headline not surprising, but encouraging nonetheless. According to a new Gallup poll, majority in U.S. now disapprove of Israeli action in Gaza. Look at the size of this drop. Approval has dropped from 50 to 36 since November. Americans have shifted to disapproval of Israeli military action in Gaza. Look at the percentage. So in November, 50% approved, 45% disapproved, 4% no opinion. That approval down 14 points, disapproval up 10 points. 9% now say they are unsure. All three major parties.
It is just amazing the inroads Hamas is making among the American people.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, good PR there. All three major party groups in the U.S. have become less supportive of Israel's actions in Gaza than they were in November. This includes declines of 18 percentage points in approval among both Democrats and independents, and a 7-point decline among Republicans. Independents have shifted from being divided in their views of the Israeli military action to opposing it. Democrats, who were already largely opposed in November, are even more so now, with 18% approving and 75% disapproving. Republicans still support Israel's military efforts, but a reduced majority, 64 down from 71, now approve. So here you could see the changes in the three party alignments: Republicans, Independents, and Democrats. And if you notice, as that article mentioned, the keys here for Biden are the fact that Democratic support has gone down from 36% down to 18%. But the real killer here and the real dramatic drop is from Independents, who were half and half in November and are now 29% favorable, 60% opposing Israel's actions in Gaza. Democrats' widespread opposition to Israel's actions now underscores the difficulty of the issue for President Joe Biden among his most loyal supporters. Some Democratic critics believe Biden has been too closely aligned with Israel by not taking stronger actions to promote a ceasefire and to assist Palestinian civilians caught in the war zone. Biden's approval rating for his handling of the situation in the Middle East at 27% is his lowest among 5 issues tested in the survey. This is because far fewer Democrats approve of how he is handling the situation between Israelis and Palestinians than approve of his handling of the economy, the environment, energy policy, and foreign affairs broadly. On those issues, no less than 66% of Democrats approve of Biden. Even 66 is pretty low for your own party loyalists.
Yes.
It's very low. Very low.
In an election year?
Yes, especially in an election year. Only further contributing to Biden's low ratings on the Middle East situation, just 21% of independents and 16% of Republicans approve of his performance on the issue. So that's obviously good news to see that public opinion is shifting in the right direction, and that is in no small part to people like you guys in the audience, to people who go out and march in the streets. That's why this is happening. There's no doubt about that. It also is, a real case study in just how polarized we are as a country and how you really do have Democrats and Republicans living in a completely different world, because the Democrats' opposition to Biden on this issue is because they see him as being far too supportive of Israel. The Republicans' disapproval of Biden on this issue is from the exact opposite direction. They think he's selling Israel out. And so you have a certain fact set, but look at how that gets processed just in completely different ways, depending on which party you're in. Obviously, they both arrive at disapproval of Joe Biden, but for completely different reasons. Then what really glues it all, pardon me, together is that independents have soured on Israel, too, in a huge way, from being almost 50-50 to now less than a third of independents approving Israel's actions. So that marks just an absolutely seismic shift, because don't forget, in America, between the Christian right and the dyed-in-the-wool Zionist sort of ideologues like the Ben Shapiros, it's very difficult to imagine it getting lower than 36%. I mean, it's unfortunate that you can't imagine that. But you have to think, okay, baseline level of support, like it's not going to go below 30 in America between the evangelicals and the Zionist Democrats and the Zionist Republicans, but it's getting there.
Honestly, as we keep saying, unfortunately, tragically, we pray that we're wrong for the sake of the people in Gaza. But I think you ain't seen nothing yet in terms of the images that are going to be coming out of Gaza over the next few months as famine and disease really take their toll. At that point, saying you're for that is going to be like saying you're for Darfur.
Yeah.
Right? Like what? So I do think it will go below that, in spite of all the politics around Israel, because you're just not going to be able to. Yeah, you know what? I like what's happening in Rwanda. You're just not going to be able to say that past a certain point.
That's true. You know, that's a good point. You're probably right about that. Because, and this goes to here, I'll show this super chat because somebody asked, is it really 80% of Jews supporting Israel? So there's this parsing of this where, like, you have the Marianne Williamsons who would probably answer yes, do they support Israel in the sense that they are Zionists. They support a Jewish state. They support the project of Israel. No, I don't, right? So we would split there. But there is perhaps a parsing of, do you support Israel and do you support their military campaign as it's currently being done in Gaza, where even someone like Marianne would say, no, I don't.
Right.
So the fact that, so now it's at 36% support for their military operation. Yeah, Russell, I think you're right. I think given the headlines, it could fall well below that. Like, you're not going to get, I don't think, 70% of Americans to completely disavow Israel as a project. But I think you're probably correct, and that was a good catch, that it probably can and will fall below 30% in terms of support for this war.
Yes. I can't imagine it won't. As the images, because, hey, look, CNN, credit where credit is due, they have done a lot of segments with really horrific images from inside Gaza, which tells me the mainstream media is probably not going to ignore it. They probably will air some of that footage, and that's it.
Well, they already have. I mean, they've already started, as you said. I mean, that footage that they showed of the starving kids was pretty harrowing.
Yeah.
And if that is a sign of their coverage to come, then yeah, it will only get worse. It will only get worse.
And then they'll accuse us all of being anti-Semitic. It's really been amazing looking at that rhetoric when you have people all around the world. Like, what kind of bubble do you have to live in to believe that this is all a spontaneous eruption of latent anti-Semitism rather than a loathing for genocide and the result of decades of retraining society in the way that they think about colonial settler projects?
Right. Exactly. Sandwich Knuckles, thanks for the $5. Thanks for your early broadcast. Love from England's South Coast. Thank you, Sandwich Knuckles.
Thank you.
Appreciate that very much. That's very kind of you. HHH 388. Israel's now crying that the UN is anti-Semitic. The level of victimhood and hypocrisy is insane.
They always cry that.
Yeah.
That's nothing new.
That's the go-to. Shinabilly, Matthew Miller puts dudes with gay-coded voice in danger. Thank you, Shinabilly. Giant meteor.
So does Ben Shapiro, frankly.
Yeah, that's true. Ron DeSantis. Giant meteor 2024. Thank you for that. I remember those bumper stickers. Pretty high approval rate considering the economy. Thank you, DC.
These are Democrats. They have money.
Yeah, that's true. They do have money. Israel's a 19th century project, which has long expired. Thank you, HHH.
Which, you know, it's
Appreciate
funny.
that.
They never realize what a cell phone it is when they say shit like Marianne said in that interview. Well, there are some people that say that the Mexicans should be able to return to Texas.
Right.
And Bree goes, well, yes, some people would. Amazing. Yeah. They never realize when they make that formulation they're giving away the game. You're admitting this is a settler colonial project when you say that.
Exactly. You want to do one more? You want to do Charlie Kirk? I feel like we may want to balance out our Pete Buttigieg criticism with a little fun at Charlie Kirk's expense. What do you think?
Sure. It's not a long one.
Let's do it. This is a quick one. All right, we got one more today because disputes abound over the racism of the Long Island overpass system under Robert Moses. But you want to see some fucking racism. Here's some racism. This is a topic on the Charlie Kirk show with the question mark in the chyron, as you can see here. I'll start it with the sound off. Recolonize Haiti? Question mark. Now, we had Professor Danny Shaw on the show last week to try and, break through some of the noise about Haiti and what's happening there. And it seems to me to be a very complicated situation, very volatile situation. So what is going on there now and what the future has in store for Haiti, the short-term future at least, certainly up in the air. But one thing we could all pretty much agree on is that the world has been punishing Haiti for its successful slave revolution in 1804. It seems like the world really wants to make an example of any nation that has that kind of successful revolutionary past. Haiti has been starved. We have had our boot on the neck of Haiti for centuries. It has been sabotaged for over 200 years, and that explains a lot of why Haiti as a country is in such dire shape. Here's
and just to point out, because we mentioned this in the interview with Danny Shaw. I don't think a lot of people realize this. I didn't realize this until I did research for that segment. France imposed reparations on Haiti in exchange for acknowledging its right to statehood. So they had to pay reparations for liberating themselves from slavery to France. These payments went on into the late 19th century, at which point American banks took over the interest on these payments. And this went on, as I recall, into the 20s.
Yes. So we have intentionally looted Haiti. We have intentionally kept Haiti down, which I think Russell seems to think, Professor Danny Shaw seems to think, Dan Cohen seems to think, right? Whatever disagreements you have about what's going on now and what the short-term future has in store, it's pretty obvious that the plight of Haiti can be explained through international political and economic warfare that has been waged on Haiti for now over 200 years. Or you can take this as a serious explanation from Charlie Kirk.
I don't know if it's fixable. And the reason is that I think, first of all, I think part of the country is literally under a spiritual oppression. I've talked to missionaries that have gone there, and they say they've seen the darkest stuff that a human being can see. In fact, I know people that have come that went to Haiti passively.
You mean the crushing
as
poverty?
Right. Yeah. Well, no, not quite. Not quite.
That's not what he means.
No. Well, he's getting
poverty.
To it. It's
I thought
spiritual.
Charlie Kirk was
says.
gonna lay out a critique of Western imperialism.
No. It's more spiritual.
Gnostic atheists, and they came back searching for Jesus because they saw like legit demonic activity.
Oh,
well, do they say any more?
Yeah, there was one guy who saw somebody who literally didn't sleep for 2 weeks, and would just like run around and not sleep for 2 weeks. Like ran through the whole island with like supernatural type capacity. There are claims that people have seen like quasi levitation stuff, like almost head spinning type stuff.
Head spinning, levitation, guys running
Andrew
fast.
says this was very common. Yeah. Here's one that when Andrew was in Haiti, there were common stories about people turning into cats at night.
Oh, is that right?
They all knew someone.
We should have had him on the show. We should have had him on the show. Stories about a guy turning into a cat.
Well, that's,
this explains it.
Yeah,
See, now it's coming into clearer focus.
There were stories about teenage girls being bewitched by a black slave. We call those the Salem witch trials.
Right.
There were stories.
Yeah. Interesting. The plot thickens.
Here's one that when Andrew was in Haiti, there were common stories about people turning into cats at night, which I don't know. They all knew someone that.
Oh, you don't know
into
about
cats.
that?
Again,
you
I'm
can't
not sure
verify that?
Well, see, he's reasonable. He's reasonable.
Real journalistic integrity from Charlie Kirk. Then no, we can't verify that a man turned into a cat at night. These are just stories.
I mean, I'm glad he draws the line there.
Put a little caveat. We don't know if that's actually possible.
we don't. We have hidden cameras. We're waiting for them to pick up something. We did see a tabby last night, but we didn't see it transform.
Yeah, somebody just mentioned North Korea in the chat. Yeah, if like this is the kind of shit you would hear, right, about that. You'd say a story like that, and if you hear it, you would say, well, this is cult, basically. This is what he's talking about.
This like supernatural energy, or just also the stuff where
supernatural energy.
You look in the Hollywood films where someone like looks possessed, right? Imagine like entire towns that look that way.
Yeah.
Where it's just they and then there's a lot of church.
Imagine being on a panel and he goes there, you're like,
Yeah, what direction do I go in that doesn't get me canceled here?
Yeah, even on Charlie Kirk.
On Charlie Kirk. Like, hang on. So some white people fearful of the other projected their fears onto an entire town in ways that are deeply racist and go back to Hollywood tropes from Serpent and the Rainbow? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Is there too, and it's growing. But like Haitian voodoo culture is legit. Like 1 out of 3 people in Haiti participate, and they sacrifice animals, and they do like pagan blood rituals. So yeah.
It doesn't seem to have worked out for them.
So that dictates their economic. Okay, so that explains it then. That explains why the country's in such bad shape. That explains why the country's in bad shape. It can't be that those practices are born of a certain desperation, right? That those practices reflect a certain neglect.
The devil's gypping them.
Right, the devil's gypping. Exactly. Wow. What an explanation there. What an international scholar Charlie Kirk proved to be. That's your explanation. That's it. What does he say? It's a very spiritually bankrupt place where there are accounts of guys running really fast through the night, guys not sleeping for 2 weeks, unverified reports of people turning into cats at night. I understand it's complicated. I understand it's not the easiest thing to inform yourself about, but I think you could do a little better than that.
Our missionaries were asleep in Port-au-Prince, and off in the distance they heard memories awake in the moonlight. I actually, because of the movie, I took an interest in the book. That was Wade Davis. He was a Harvard botanist, and he went out to Haiti on behalf of a pharmaceutical company to investigate the zombie powder because they wanted to see if it had anesthetic properties. And the book, it's pretty interesting. You kind of had to get involved in the voodoo culture. And he did get the powder, and it's based on the toxin of the blowfish. So it, paralyzes the person but doesn't kill them, but it drops their respiration and heart rate. So it seems like they've come back from the dead. And if you, in the culture, have been raised with the belief that now you're going to be in thrall to the person who did this to you, you're going to act that way.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're a zombie, but they think they're a zombie now. They think now they have to obey this person. So it was actually, if you're curious about that, that was actually a pretty interesting book. Of course, Wes Craven took it and turned it into a horror movie where a lot of these ideas about Haitians come from. Movies like that, going back to White Zombie. Like George Romero's idea of zombies, he created that based on the vampire myths. That's why it's viral. because it based it on vampires. But the original zombie movies were all based in Haitian voodoo myths.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, the Serpent of the Rainbow, I mean, that's where, I mean, he didn't reference that specifically, but he said, just like when you see people looking possessed in movies, right? I mean, that's certainly responsible for a lot of that. Okay, we'll take some super chats. Any super chats from the audience? Anybody want to tell us about a Robert Caro book that says, no, actually, there are people turning into cats in Haiti? Did he write a book about that we should know about? We'll open it up to the audience for comment. Okay, let's go on to some super chats here. Saw a TikTok video saying Boeing has hidden security vid of work on the Alaska air door and won't release names of workers on that section. Valid, you think?
What I read, okay, so one thing the article I was reading didn't mention is that the passengers on that Alaska Airlines flight have been contacted by the FBI as possible victims of a crime. And also, in regards to what you're saying, the Justice Department claims that Boeing has erased the footage of the assembly of that door, so they can't tell who put it together.
Oh, interesting. See, yeah, this is really Russell's beat. You're up to date on all this stuff. Nothing gets past you there. You guys are being throttled, says Tom. YouTube keeps unsubscribing me from your channel. I've subscribed probably 5 times now. Oh, boy.
That's us. We don't like you.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, we kick you out. Keep coming back in. Keep hitting the subscribe button. Any dates for NYC shows?
There's nothing we can do about it. What are we going to do?
Yeah, what can we do?
Go to fucking, where are they? Seattle?
Write them a letter?
Where are they based? Write them a strongly worded letter.
I mean, it's got to be Silicon Valley, right?
Some over there with those fucking scumbags. Palo Alto somewhere.
Yeah. Pat Donahue, thanks for the €5. Any dates for NYC shows? Might be in NYC this year. Be cool to go. Yeah, that would be amazing. It's June 9th. We have the date and the time. Everything is set. Like, everything is set. The theater's booked.
We did the contract, put the money down.
Yeah, we just have to find a ticket broker that's going to allow us to present the information in a clear, unconfusing way. It'll be on sale this Sunday, for sure. And the date is June 9th, and there'll be 2 shows, a 2 p.m. matinee and a 7 p.m. evening show. So that is in stone. We just got to get the actual links up. So June 9th, if you guys are making plans. Make Texas, Mexico again. Thank you, D.C. Appreciate that. Okay. MSM implies that Jimmy Barbecue is a cannibal, but he began as a righteous policeman fighting corruption. He's not a cannibal. He's a Haitian Serpico. Sparky, did you watch our interview with Danny Shaw? That was a Rumble exclusive, but we have the clips up on YouTube. He's more qualified to speak on that than I am. I know there's some disagreements depending on who you talk to about that. I asked him. I would happily interview Dan Cohen about it too. We'd happily interview anybody on this who we can get in touch with. We happen to get in touch with Danny Shaw through our mutual pal, Craig Pasta Jardula, so we were able to put that interview together pretty quickly. But, as I told Danny, I am asking this question simply out of curiosity. I have no knowledge or opinion of any of that. And so we took that answer for what it's worth, and Danny's answer was nuanced on that. Which I have no choice but to defer to him. He's been there. I haven't,
Yeah, what the fuck do we know?
Yeah, what the fuck do we know? Exactly. Dominic Morrow, I don't know, spinning heads, levitation, people turning into cats. Haiti can be turned into a tourist attraction. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, yeah, that's a good one.
Stoop sign, thanks for the $1. You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you're only fooling 36% of us right now, assholes. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, good.
May Jess, thanks for the $10. What is the difference between Do Dissident subscribers and the Young Turk subscribers? Do Dissident subscribers are real people who watch the show. Yeah, no bots here.
Very, very, very true. You look at the view counts relative to the subs. I mean, nobody's watching that shit.
Yeah. Stoop sign, Charlie Kirk is jealous of Catman. Watch what the Catman... Meow, says Malabea. Thank you very much. I refreshed.
The audience is funny today, man.
Yeah, the audience, you got it. You guys are on fire today. You guys are on fire. I refreshed and still low likes on Rumble. 243, but 1,200 watching. Smash the like button. Yeah, please do smash the like button. Now we're up to 265, but thank you, Aspen Fallen. Appreciate that very much. All right, we are all up to date on our Super Chats and our Rumble rants. We want to wish you guys a very happy Friday and Saturday. Patron stream tomorrow, so sign up at patreon.com/DoDissidents and come join us at 10 a.m. for an interactive live stream. We'll be taking calls. We'll be covering some fun stuff. And if you would like to donate to our Special Projects Fund, which helps pay for these live shows and for our planned trip to the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, and also
we're on a mission from God.
Yes, to Dearborn, Michigan. Please go to givesendgo.com/DoDissidents. We've had some donations come in. It all is super helpful, so thank you very much for everybody who has chipped into that. And obviously, tickets, once again, for the live shows in New York City go on sale this Sunday. So join our Substack. It's free to join the Substack, everybody. So join the Substack so you get the newsletter announcement when tickets go live. And then come see us June 9th at the Producers Club in New York City, right in Hell's Kitchen. There's a great shit that you could easily make a day out of it over in Hell's Kitchen. If you're a tourist, Times Square is right around the corner. If you're a real New Yorker, there's a bunch of great Irish bars right around the corner. So it's a real fun way to spend a Sunday in the summertime in New York. And so we hope you can all make it.
And the venue is right off 9th Avenue, which I always tell people, 9th Avenue between 43rd and 53rd, and this is on 44th and 9th. Best food strip you will ever find. Every type of world cuisine and a good version of it, because it's so competitive there. If you ain't good, you're gone on that strip.
Yeah, that is a good strip. You're right. You're right. There's every kind of food you could think of, and it's all pretty good. One of my favorite bars in the city is Dalton's right there, 43rd. 9th between, I think, 43rd and 44th or 42nd, 43rd.
To experience a bit of New York history, you got to go to Rudy's if you're in that neighborhood.
Rudy's is great too. Yes, that's a dive. That's a dive where you got to stand and rub shoulders with people and eat hot dogs. But yes, it is an experience.
The hot dogs are free though.
Yes, hot dogs are free there. But yeah, Rudy's is a New York experience as well. All righty, everybody. Thank you guys very much.
Sparky got one in under the wire.
Got one in under the wire. Learn from Haitians that starvation can be slowed down by consuming clay and salt. I was able to complete a strict 40-day water and mineral fast back in 1997 with this info. All right. Well,
okay.
We can either...
Now I know what I'll be doing when I go out to L.A.
Yeah, there you go. Folks, thank you very much for being here this morning. We appreciate you all. Patrons, paid Substackers, paid Locals members. We'll see you for another morning matinee tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Everybody else, we will see you back here Sunday night, 7 p.m. Russell will be in sunny Los Angeles getting ready for his return to the Jimmy Dore Show. So Russell will be live from Jimmy's house on Sunday, but we will see you all.
Hopefully the prayer bowl still works when I get there.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you're going to have to see.
If this one doesn't work, that's it. Jimmy's house is the Black Lodge.
Maybe he lives in Haiti.
Maybe
it's not. Maybe it's not L.A. Maybe it's Haiti.
I thought that dog turned into a cat one
day. Yeah, right. I thought the dog was a cat. If a man can menstruate, turning into cat should be a breeze. Thank you, Kira and Gita. Thank you very much for that. Folks, we appreciate you all. We will see our lovely supporters, the backbone of the show, tomorrow, 10 a.m. All the rest of you scoundrels, you freeloaders, we will see you 7 p.m. Sunday nights for another full-length stream. Thank you guys very much for being here this morning. Appreciate you all. Until we meet again, be safe and be well.
Courage.
Please clap.